Okay, let's see if it does it now. Sorry, guys. How are we doing?
Switches up.
Okay.
D-Live is live.
Okay.
Float is not. How do you know when your float comes up?
There should be a little live that says, a little thing that says live right above it.
Okay, let me see if I can refresh it.
Okay.
Nope.
What about,
Nope.
all right. Well, I don't know what to say.
See here.
We'll give it a minute. Thanks for being patient, everybody who's sitting there. We're trying to see
You're
if
live on Facebook.
Okay, Facebook is up. Good.
Twitch is up. D-Live's up.
Twitch, Facebook, and D-Live are up. Float didn't come up. Periscope didn't come up. And Tiger Network didn't come up.
YouTube didn't come up.
And YouTube didn't come up.
Must be a new algorithm.
Must be. Well, it'll be on in enough places. I can add it there to those other ones later. Should we just start?
Yeah.
Yep. All right. So, thanks for being here with me today, and thank you for letting me get well enough to do a long presentation for you. We're going to cover oils for November and December, and we're going to cover frankincense, essential oil, and Siberian fir. So let's get started. The frankincense that we're covering today is Boswellia serrata. It's wild grown, CO2 extracted, and it is, we're going to be looking at the extracted from the resin. Hi, J. Adam. Thanks for being here. So the plant is a member of the Bersaceae family. Other oils that come from this family are alemi, myrrh, apopanox, storax, galbanum, and camphor. So these are all resinous kind of trees that, excuse me, that have needles and bark that kind of peels, and they're very soft trunks. So you can puncture them easily, and they produce resin, and they also take oils from the leaves as well. They do take some frankincense from the leaves, but mostly it comes from the resin. Frankincense resin is ranges from transparent to milky white and pale yellow. The milky colored resin is the resin that is the most, winds up to be the most fragrant. So where it's clear looking resin coming from the tree, it's not as fragrant as the, I'll show you right here, the milky and the this part of the resin. This resin here is the most fragrant here. Resin is soluble in alcohol and fixed oils, and there is a lethal dose for frankincense resin at 389 milliliters per 70 kilogram adult, and 83 milliliters per 15 kilogram child. So you can ingest frankincense resin, and it is actually an Ayurvedic supplement. So there are, you can have a lethal dose of this. It's strange to hear Corey type.
Now you get it.
That's great. The active chemistry in frankincense are terpenes, gamma terpenes, alpha terpenes, and 1.8 cineol. Those are the primary active constituents in frankincense oil. And you can see there that frankincense kind of looks a little bit like a melaleuca at the top of the tree with the little bottle brush blossoms there. I wonder what it would smell like in a forest of those trees too. It would be absolutely fantastic. I did travel to Tibet, and in the middle of one of the temples was a giant, this is a different tree, but it was a sandalwood tree, and the trunk of this tree was so big that it took 8 monks to wrap their arms around the tree, and they built their temple around the trunk of this tree. So these holy trees have been around a long time, and they put them in really special places, and they don't cut them down. If they don't have to cut one of these trees down, they don't. They produce a lot of the the resin was so prized that it was considered to be like money. So we'll talk about that in a minute here. The therapeutic effects of frankincense oil, the pinene, dipentines, and phellandrines create the anti-inflammatory, antiseptic, and antidepressant qualities of the oil. Boswellic acids have been shown to demonstrate dependent inhibition of RNA and DNA protein synthesis for leukemic HL60 cells. So the oils, the acids from some varieties of these trees is shown to really help with certain types of cancer cells. Which can be, so this would be, and it is given as an oral dose of resin ground up in capsules. Resin is shown to have pregnancy interruptive actions. So ingesting resin during pregnancy is a bad idea if you don't want to have any risks to your baby. Excuse me. Non-randomized open trials found that resin extracts of Boswellia serrata, which is the one we're looking at today, is effective in improving ulcerative colitis in patients. Remission occurred in 82.4% of patients, over 75% of the sulfazine patients. And that study was done in 1997. So if you have ulcerative colitis and you're not getting the results you want with your sulfazine, ask your doctor about incorporating some frankincense supplements into your diet. You may get better results. Boswellic acids inhibited pro-inflammatory anaphylactic peptides very strongly in mice and sheep. So, excuse me, if you are also having a lot of allergic responses, during a high allergy season for you, this can also be a therapeutic benefit for you. Frankincense is cytophylactic. It stimulates new cell growth, heals scars and wounds, and helps with facial care for aging skin. Frankincense strengthens connective tissue as well. The resin can be ingested to care for arthritis, inflammatory bowel disease, like ulcerative colitis, and Crohn's disease. The recommended dose per study is 400 milligrams 3 times a day for an adult. For arthritis, and for asthma, 300 milligrams per day for an adult. Inhalation therapy for sinus congestion and asthma if you're going to use the oil. Sitz baths for UTIs, and mentally changes your outlook. Reduces anxiety, calms frayed nerves, and is really excellent in a diffuser for in your house or in your room or in your office or in the car even. Excuse me. Frankincense, if you're going to use frankincense for your emotional support and uplifting your mood, frankincense helps alleviate the weight of anguish. It's very calming and relaxing. It's wonderful oil for lifting you out of oncoming depressions and soothing out your mood if you're feeling irritable. For loss and grief, it is one of my favorites for loss and grief. Excuse me. It is, it helps calm your nerves. So if you have presentation or a business meeting or an interview, or a first date, frankincense is wonderful for calming you down, lifts you out of melancholy. It is shown to help you recover lost memory, ease nightmares, and again with sorrow and sadness, which I find interesting because frankincense has also been used in embalming and I'm sorry. and burial rituals. And I think that covering a body with frankincense is, you know, your loved one's body and frankincense is are preparing them for burial. Hi, Susie. Is part of a ritual not only for the deceased, but to help the anguish and sorrow of the person preparing. Thank you, honey. Preparing the body for burial and letting them go. So I think that frankincense in that way is beautiful. Frankincense for deep wound care. If you have a deep ulcer, it can be a deep wound that is anywhere in your body, or you can even have like ulcerative acne. You can use this combination of 10% tea tree and 10% frankincense oil in calendula infused oil. A study was done on deep wound care, and particular injury that we cite here is it was applied to a 3.5 by 5 by 2.25 centimeter heel ulcer that wasn't healing with traditional care, and it was lightly packed with sterile gauze, and this blend was poured into the gauze once it was packed, and within 14 days the heel ulcer was completely healed. The wound had been treated with pharmaceuticals and had tissue loss due to necrosis, and the tea tree and frankincense oil not only closed up the wound but healed all the skin around it. When you have necrosis, you have black skin, you have no circulation going into the area, and a wound can't heal because the skin is necrotic, it's rotten, it's dead. And the frankincense and tea tree oil were able to, as a combination, bring the circulation in and heal it from the depth of the wound to the surface. So it's one of those situations where it won't heal over and then fill in. It heals from the depth of the wound to the surface, pushing out all the necrotic skin as it goes. So if you have deep wounds, this is a wonderful oil for that. As a beauty oil, wheat germ oil is full of vitamin E. A teaspoon of wheat germ oil and a tablespoon of primrose oil are really, really beautiful oils for the face. They're very rich. Add the tablespoon of primrose oil because the wheat germ oil is a little thick and sticky. It's a dark amber color, and the primrose oil will thin it and make it spread a little more easily. It's nice that this is a nighttime oil, ladies and gents, if you tab. And then 4 drops each of frankincense, rose otto, lavender, and carrot seed. So you have vitamin A, vitamin E, vitamin C. You have the restorative properties from the frankincense, and everything about this blend is really amazing for facial oil. Give it a try. Let's see, next. Okay, so now we're going to talk about healing a different kind of wound. If you have a surgical wound or a heavy scrape and I don't know, road rash, or you've fallen and cut your knee on some rocks out in the backyard or something. Anything that's a lighter wound, not a deep open gaping wound like the heel ulcer we were talking about earlier. Anything
So
that
doesn't go through all skin layers?
well, a surgical wound will go through all skin layers, but it may not. It's where it's sewn, where the stitches are.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I'm talking about. So about skin, the depth of your skin.
Okay. Which is most wounds.
Most wounds, yeah. Most of us don't have deep ulcerative wounds, but diabetics do, and people who've had a recluse spider bite, those kind of things. So, for anything that's a little more surface, grab your wheat germ oil, a teaspoon of it, and 2 drops frankincense, 2 drops neroli, and 2 drops lavender. This will minimize the possibility of infection and scarring. Massage the blend into the wounds and scars daily until the site is healed. Frankincense, because it also works on connective tissue, if you have a scar that you're concerned about becoming, having, what's the word for it? Where they get really thick and heavy scarring. It's a K word. Shoot. Anyway, if you're worried about having heavy scarring from a surgical wound or from, say it? Keloids, yes. If you're worried about your scars turning into keloids, rub this in there. Once you have a good seal on your wound, you can really rub the frankincense in deep and give your skin a good stretch and a pull, and it will soften up those scars and keep it movable, because it works also with the connective tissue in your skin. Lavender heals, promotes the production of scabbing and healing, and neroli helps to keep things soft. So those are a few really good blends for healing wounds. Oh, we just covered that, so we got that in there twice. Okay, so fresh frankincense is basically ground up resin. Crushed leaves, well, you can crush up the leaves and inhale it to treat congestion and colds like an inhalation therapy. Infused leaves, I have the wrong slide in here, so we're not going to read that. I'm just going to tell you what to do with your fresh frankincense. Sorry about that. Fresh frankincense ground up resin can be ingested for a wide variety of things. The Ayurvedists use this a lot. It is used in some cancer treatments. I'm not going to list them here because I don't, there's a liability factor there for me. But if you have questions about that, we can talk about it, and then you can connect with your doctor and see if that's in addition to your therapy. It is wonderful for problems with digestion, ulcerative colitis, Crohn's disease, irritable bowel syndrome. Fresh frankincense can be burned on coals for having, incense in your house. And fresh frankincense can be used as a poultice for topical wounds, and you can put it in your bath. I would put it in your bath in a screened tea ball, not the ones with the little holes, but the ones with a little screen, and put it, hang it over the thing and let the hot water run on it. And then when you turn your hot water off, throw it in the bottom of your tub and soak in it. If you have psoriasis and eczema and any other hives, any kind of skin condition going on, soaking in freshly ground frankincense resin is extremely soothing to the surface of your skin. There are some contraindications for frankincense. Do not give it for ingestion to children under the age of 6, and You can diffuse frankincense in the house for children who are up to about 4 years old. It is toxic in large amounts, but you can use it as a rinse or a gargle, no problem. If it catches on fire, throw some sand on it. Don't get it in your eyes. And if you get the frankincense freshly ground resin in your lungs, it can cause some irritation. And if you are taking frankincense as a nutritional supplement, watch your doses very carefully because it can be toxic in large amounts. And if you don't feel well, of course, call the Poison Control Center. They have protocols. You know, they'll ask you how much you've taken in what kind of time period, and they have a protocol for what you need to do if you're going, you know, if you've overdosed by taking it orally. Frankincense in the perfume world is a base note. And as a base note, that means it has a wonderful list of oils that it blends well with. Frankincense, excuse me, blends very well with agarwood, amber oil, basil, bergamot, black pepper, cedarwood, cistus, clary sage, clove, coriander, elemi, fir, which we'll be talking about next, geranium, hay. Hay is typically not used as a therapeutic. Hay is typically used in the perfuming industry as a scent oil. Jasmine, juniper, labdanum, lavender, lime, lotus. Lotus has a few therapeutic effects, but generally lotus is also used as a spiritual oil and a perfuming oil. Mandarin, myrrh, neroli, orange, sandalwood, spruce, tobacco, tonka bean, and vanilla.
Okay. When you say doesn't have a therapeutic effect, as an aromatherapist or an herbalist, you use that when it has a physiological effect, because scents have emotional effects.
Yes, they do.
Very much so.
Yes, they do.
Which could be, and oftentimes are, healing.
Yes. I'm speaking specifically of a physical therapeutic.
Okay.
It does most certainly have a mental and spiritual effect.
Yeah. I was just thinking, because when you said hay, I was thinking, you know, like vetiver and the grassier notes. I like grassier fragrances.
Mm-hmm.
And they just bring a peace when I wear them, and that's why I wear them.
Yeah.
And you know, so just wanted clarification.
Yes.
For listeners. Okay. Sorry, I didn't mean to get you off track.
No, you didn't.
Okay.
I was just reading the note below. Okay, so frankincense has a warm, resinous, smooth, rich, musky, earthy, yet subtle aroma. It has a slight licorice-like undertone and a light medicinal top note. Excellent fixative properties. This frankincense, it hangs on. It is not one that volatilizes easily in a perfume. It's pale yellow. You know, there was a dance studio that I went to as a really little girl, and they had their floors refinished with some natural oils. And for the first few weeks after the floor was finished, the place just smelled like this. And every time I smell it, it takes me back to that little dance studio with the wooden floors and the big windows. I don't know, maybe she was burning frankincense in there. But this one's very licoricey. You want to smell that? Mm-hmm. This is so nice. That's really yummy.
It is licoricey.
Yeah, this is the one that's coming to you guys, by the way. It's on its way. So mix it up. Frankincense holds, well, is your anchor note if you are blending things together for making perfumes. So you have a base note, a middle note, and a top note. Frankincense will be your anchor note. Usually you will use less of a base note by drops, by percentage, than you will your middle and top notes. Because your top notes, as they dry and oxidize in the air, they dissipate and they either settle into your middle note or they disappear altogether. So your frankincense will be your base note that sticks around the longest. So you start with only a few drops and then you add on top your middle note and your top note. And you know, your middle note will have a few more drops than your base note, and then your top note will have a few more drops than that. Let's see. Okay. Some of your magical use for frankincense. Frankincense corresponds to Aquarius, Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius. Its planets are the moon and the sun, and the elements are air, fire, and water, and it associates with the third eye chakra. It strengthens the spleen, the heart, and the liver, and the gods. There are no goddesses associated with frankincense that I can find, but I do find the gods associated with frankincense are Helios and Ra. Stones associated with frankincense are petrified wood and amber. Used in spell work that include, this would be the king's oil. It's a men's love oil. Use it to locate a job, bring female support to the male. Expect great change in a relationship energy between the male and female when you use frankincense oil. It's a very balancing oil between the male and female energy. It is an oil to be used in spell and magic work that include developing spirituality, knowledge, strength, and inspiration. Use it for practicing your astral projection, for dreaming and psychic work, divination, and leveling up your skills. It aids in past life work and cord cutting. It assists in mediumship and making spirit connections. When you use frankincense oil when you're seeking justice, when you're seeking clarity, courage, release, and success, it invites love and joy and instills balance, grounding, restoration, and rejuvenation. Frankincense burned in a censer, you know, the little metal ball with the holes in it on a chain, a censer. Frankincense burned in a censer was used to imitate weather patterns for drawing rain into the fields. The resin becomes the ash, which nourish the soil to ensure future plant growth, and the smoke rises and thickens into foggy clouds which sink like fog onto the fields, bringing the moisture. This ritual was one that was very criticized in the old days and then adopted by modern religion, the Christians. They adopted it for scenting their chambers and their chapels and their cathedrals, but they used to condemn the witches for doing so, for doing this weather-bringing ritual. You can wear a necklet made from frankincense tears as a protection during ritual work. So if you want to make one of those, get your frankincense resin, nice waxed. Use dental floss maybe and a sturdy beading needle, and you're going to warm your needle and push it through the little frankincense beads and make a string of frankincense resin to wear during your ritual work. You can use frankincense oil to anoint your petitions and to do root work. And excuse me. So I have a couple of recipes here. could colognes and perfumes be considered magical? Absolutely, they could be. It's a lot easier than stringing your frankincense beads, but yes, absolutely. There are oils mentioned in the Bible. There are oils mentioned in all kinds of ancient texts, and you can incorporate those into your blends for ritual work and magical work, anointing your tools, anointing your candles, that sort of thing. Absolutely. Excuse me. So for a full moon, you can, if you want to, this is a general anointing oil for your candles, marking your circle and preparing yourself for ritual work. Use a half ounce of carrier oil of your choice and a quarter part each of frankincense, rose, lemon, and jasmine. So 4 drops each. If you use a full ounce of oil, you can use 6 drops each of your 4 oils. But a half ounce of oil is going to last you for many full moons, probably a year's worth of full moons. So you don't need to make giant batches of it, and you shouldn't, because your carrier oil will degrade over time and it will waste the essential oil that you put into them. So,
real quick, with the biblical incense,
yes,
frankincense was revered above all others. Myrrh came in pretty much second, but spikenard was in there.
Yeah.
Cinnamon, cassia, calamus, camphor. Stacte, Stacte, I don't know what that is. Aloes, cedar, honey, hyssop, henna, mandrake, pomegranates, lily, roses, saffron. Mm-hmm. All of those are considered holy oils, and we're going to put together a class on the holy oils. There's actually a sacred blend as well, but it's something that I've studied in the past. There's one ingredient that nobody knows what it is, and I think it's got 5 ingredients total. I know cassia is in there, frankincense is in there, but there's one that is really up for debate as to what it is. We should order some and have a nose at it. It's just in the Bible. I mean, really? You probably have everything here minus.
I probably do. I might even have the ingredient or have access to it if we sniff it out. Yeah.
But they would also use like oyster shells. They would grind up, like, there's something from an oyster they would grind up and they would burn.
It's the,
I think it's the, called Onycha. Oincha? Onycha, I think.
Ony?
Cha.
I have to write that down. I can't.
I got it.
No, I can't read it in my brain without writing it down.
Yeah, Oincha. Equal parts of, Stacte, galbanum, and frankincense is one of the components of the consecrated in the book of Exodus. It was one of the most sacred oils.
Oh, we have to look that up and do a class on that. That'll be fun.
Yeah. All right, sorry.
Okay, that's okay. So, thank you, Corey. Another consecration oil for doing your magical weapons and instruments and things. A half ounce carrier of your oil of your choice. A quarter part of frankincense, a quarter part of myrrh, a quarter part of cinnamon, a quarter part of spikenard, and 1 crushed bay leaf.
Question. Jay Adams says, not to derail, but what's the difference between cassia and cinnamon?
There's a couple different types of cinnamon. Cassia is a cinnamon. Cinnamon is a cassia. Some people call them the same because of the tree, and some people call them different because of where the tree grows. That's the only difference.
Now, here in the desert, we have a bush called... Can they hear me, by the way? I don't know if they hear me.
Yes.
Here in the bush, or in the desert, there's a plant called feathered cassia, and it's a small little grayish bush. They get maybe 6 feet tall tops, but average around 3. They're native to some parts of the Southwest, but not Phoenix, but they grow very well here. And they get these, they come out in the spring, right around April, and they have yellow flowers all over them. Okay. And they smell amazing. Easy to grow. They've been using
What's the bark look like?
There's no bark. It's a shrub.
It's a shrub.
It's a small shrub.
Okay.
And I'll show you when we see one. But it's called feathery cassia.
Okay.
And it smells so sweet, like extremely sweet.
Wonderful.
So I don't know if it's any relation to cinnamon. Probably not, but it just has that name.
It's part of the family anyway.
It could be.
Okay. And shoot.
Could colognes and perfumes be considered magical?
Yes.
Absolutely, 100%. In fact, it is a form of magic that was taught to humans. If you read the Dead Sea Scrolls, by the extraterrestrials or angels, the messengers that came down. It was one of the sacred sciences.
Well, I want to hear more about that.
Okay.
I want to hear more about that. All right. So now, if you have something you want to get rid of, an energy in your home, if somebody seems to be not themselves, if there is an exorcism of any type that needs doing, you can make powder to assist you in that work. 3 parts basil, 2 parts frankincense, 2 parts rosemary, 1 part yarrow, and 1 part rue. These are all dried. Do this with dried plants. You can add essential oils of each of these things to it as well to really boost the aroma. And you can sprinkle your powder, grind it up really fine, and you can sprinkle it like your black salt and your white salt through your house in the same manner. Sprinkle through the house or in any place needing strong purification or protection. So before we go any further here into Siberian fir here, because we're going to move into our next oil, do you have any questions about frankincense? While you post your questions, I'm going to share with you, frankincense was traveled back and forth between Yemen and Turkey and all in that area for about 500 years before it went anywhere else in the world. It was used as medicine. It was used as burial. It was used for burial, but it was used primarily as money because it takes so long for a tree to mature to be old enough to produce the resin. Some varieties of these trees need to be 25 years old before they begin producing resin. Other varieties of these trees are about 8 years old before they start producing resin. And this is also why we move from Boswellia cartieri to Boswellia serrata, because Boswellia cartieri is one of those trees that takes a very long time for the tree to be old enough to produce resin. It's a 25-year-old tree. I saw that. I saw that. So the Boswellia serrata, this is a more sustainable frankincense to be using. We want to protect these old trees, and we don't want to take or overburden endangered members of the frankincense family here.
Oh, I gotta show you a tree, but
okay.
Go ahead with this comment here.
Okay, would you recommend grinding in a pestle and mortar, or could you grind it in a coffee bean grinder? Actually, I grind mine in the coffee bean grinder because the mortar and pestle, once you really grind that resin into there, if you want to keep I have a lava mortar and pestle, so anything that I grind in there is going to stick into the lava. So I'd grind my resins in the coffee bean grinder. I have one set aside just for grinding resins and herbs and things, so my coffee doesn't get mixed in with there. What were you gonna say, hon?
There is a tree I gotta show you. It's the northernmost tree in the same family as I think it's elephant tree.
Ooh.
And there's one here in Phoenix.
Really?
It's in the mountain preserves. I gotta show you where it's at.
Cool.
I can find it again. It's up this little ravine.
Oh, that's really cool.
But it may have some sap coming out of it.
Don't tease me like that.
Is it copal? Is it copal?
Copal?
It comes from the elephant tree. Then the elephant tree, I think.
Does it really?
Yeah, I believe that's what it is.
I love copal.
Yeah, I'll find it.
All right. So, any other questions about frankincense? Excuse me. Yeah, it does kind of become like a paste in the mortar and pestle. It stays a little dry and fluffy in the in the marble. It probably will do better than the lava, but it will, if you're really strong, it'll become really like Jay Adams says, it kind of like a paste. So if you want it to stay kind of light and fluffy, I would do it in your grinder. Okay, on to our next segment here. We're going to talk about Siberian fir. We have Siberian fir. It's wild crafted, which means it's collected out in the wild. And the needles on this are where they take the majority of the oil from, the needles of the Siberian fir tree. And they are steam distilled.
Real quick, tell Jay Adams that he can freeze his resin before he grinds it too.
Yes. Jay Adams, you can freeze your resin before you grind as well. I think we have a chunk of resin in the freezer. And that helps. Okay. The Siberian fir tree is native to the region east of the Volga River in Siberia through Turkestan and Xinjiang, Mongolia, and Heilongjiang in China. These trees are extremely tall. The climate that they live in is very cold and the ground is really damp. They usually are like to live above river basins and at about 1,900 to 2,400 meters, and they reach a height of about just short of 100 feet tall. They don't live as long as they're kind of susceptible to fungus because they live in a damper area, so they don't usually live longer than 200 years. They are shade tolerant and frost resistant, and they can survive temperatures up to minus 50 Celsius. They are a member of the gymnosperm class, and they grow in zone 1. Medicinal parts are the buds, the leaves, the bark, the resin, and, of course, the byproduct of the essential oil. Fir, pine, spruce are guardian trees of our planet. They contain specific purifying and cleansing constituents. You're welcome, love. Abies siberica are very effective for supporting respiratory function. Those are the pine cones on the Siberian fir. They're beautiful, dark purple cones. Their active chemistry is bornyl acetate, camphene, apinine, limonene, and beta-phallandrine. And it smells like high-altitude trees. It's wonderful. The therapeutic effects of this oil, we're going to go by parts here. The buds have medicinal actions. They are antibiotic, antimicrobial, antiseptic, and balsamic. The bark has medicinal actions of being antiseptic and astringent. Most bark is usually astringent. The leaves, medicinal actions are expectorant, bronchial sedative, mucolytic, eupeptic, diuretic. They increase your appetite. They are immune stimulant. They work with leukorrhea and rheumatism and fatigue. That's what comes in your essential oil right there. The resin, the medicinal actions are eupeptic, which is helps with digestion, expectorant, helps clear your lungs, your sinuses, diuretic, vasoconstricting,
You should be taking
antiseptic.
some of that right now for the fatigue.
I should be like rolling myself around.
I know.
And let's see. It's a vulnerary, which means helping to heal wounds, and is balsamic. So it's very soothing. The needle essential oil actions: decongestant, antiviral. Remember, antiviral doesn't mean that it prevents a virus. It means that it degrades the virus.
Not a prophylactic.
It's not a prophylactic. Common, it helps give you support. It's way better than napalm in the morning. Yes, it is. It gives you support for common cold, flu, sinusitis, stuffy nose, rheumatism, muscular aches. So take a bath in it, rinse your sinuses with it, inhale it, rub it into your chest for respiratory. It sits on your skin, you absorb it, all good stuff. According to the U.S. National Library of Medicine, a fir oil is active against cancerous tumors because it decreases the cellular glutathione and increases oxidation. In other words, it destroys the shell of the cancer cell, and they're doing more research on it. So if you can destroy the protein that is surrounding the little information that's on the inside of the cancer cell, then it oxidizes, and your body can go in then and take care of whatever's malfunctioning in there. So they're doing more research on it currently. It is used in massages as topical application. Fir oil can bump up your metabolism and help your lymphatic system to flush waste. Use in a diffuser and or massage for respiratory support. In folk medicine, now remember, in folk medicine we classify folk medicine as anything that hasn't been proven by science, but has been used over a long period of time to for the same thing repeatedly because it's known to be effective. It's passed down from grandmother to daughter to granddaughter, and they continue to use it because it is effective. So it's used for joint pain due to rheumatism, muscle pains, and cramps. Mild analgesic and anti-inflammatory, as a massage oil, as a sore throat gargle. The Egyptians used it for hair growth. So I'll be rubbing some on my little bald spot, and see if we can get some grass to grow up there. It's used for better sleep and increased lucidity in dreams. They used to stuff pillowcases with the needles of this tree and sleep on the needles of the tree to deepen sleep and increase the lucidity of dreams. So if you don't have access to Siberian fir needles, you can put some oil on a tissue and tuck it up into your pillowcase where you can smell it all night. Great way to not have to go to the high regions of China and Siberia for needles to sleep on. Resin is used for making turpentine, painting. Sure, it's also the proper type of turpentine is a known and highly effective wound healer. It kills head lice, and chest rubs. My eye got ahead of me over there. It kills head lice, and it's used for chest rubs because there's so much vapor that it opens up your lungs very easily. The types of wounds that you would use this for would be cleaning. This would be for cleaning a deep wound and for keeping bacteria and things away from the outside edge. So if you have a deep wound that needs care, it would be like rubbing alcohol around the outside on the skin and into the wound, and then dress the wound with gauze and other oils. Siberian fir emotionally boosts positive emotions, pacifies stress, is brings a rejuvenating and refreshing feeling to the mind and body. It makes you feel empowered and builds your confidence. Alleviates nervous exhaustion, which I think we all are really suffering from right now, with the state of the country and the state of the world. And we all could use a little Siberian breath of fresh air. It reduces sadness, elevates negativity, and transmutes anger. Yes, and fir has a wonderful Christmas smell too. You can use Siberian fir in as a throat gargle. 8 ounces of tepid water, about as hot as you can stand it. A tablespoon of Himalayan salt. 8 drops each. Fir oil, eucalyptus globulus. We talked about that earlier this summer. And 8 drops of marjoram. Rinse your mouth, swish it around, gargle really deep, and spit. Stir your salt into the tepid water until it's dissolved. Add your oils and gargle. Pretty simple. Doesn't taste terrible either. Sometimes when you make a gargle, it's so bitter that your mouth gets dry and you get the gags. But this doesn't do it. It's strong, but it has a really pleasant taste. So it's tolerable. So if you want your kids to gargle, if you've got strep throat in the house, if you've got sore throats, earaches, colds going around in the house, this is a really nice way to get your kids to rinse their mouth. They won't complain too much about it. A respiratory unguent. An unguent is a thick, kind of sticky, oily rub that you put on your skin so that the things that are in the oil can be absorbed in. And this is a very aromatic unguent. You're going to need a double boiler or a little jar that you can stick inside a pot with some water in it. And you're going to set your shea butter in there, 1/4 cup of shea butter and 1/4 cup of coconut oil. And you're going to turn it on low and you're going to let it melt. Once it's melted, add your beeswax. That should melt up pretty quick. 2 tablespoons of beeswax. And a total of 24 mLs for your essential oils. 5 mLs of fir, 5 mLs of black pepper, 5 mLs of lemon, 4 mLs of eucalyptus radiata, and 5 mLs of ravensara. This is a very camphory, very bright, very warming unguent. And once your wax has melted into your oils, you're going to take it off the stove. Yeah, kind of like Vicks, only much nicer smelling. And let it start to cool. And when you can touch the outside of the jar without burning your hands before it starts to set up again, you add your essential oils. Stir it in and pour it right out into your container and let it cool. And that's pretty much it. Rub this into your chest and the bottoms of your feet and up into your nostrils. Unlike Vicks, this shouldn't burn the inside of your nostrils as much. The camphor in this recipe is much lower than the camphor in Vicks, so it shouldn't make your nostrils feel really hot. But, you know, if you're sensitive, you can put it up on your upper lip and breathe it in. So there you go. And with the weather cooling down, this is a good little recipe to have prepared in advance and have sitting in your apothecary. Have fun, have some fun making these things. It's fun to pour it up. A 1/2 cup is 8 ounces. A 1/4 cup, so you're gonna need a container that'll hold about 8 ounces worth. Because a 1/4 cup is 4 ounces and a half. No, sorry. A cup is 8 ounces. So you're going to 1/2 cup, 4 ounces. You're going to need a jar that'll hold 4 ounces. Well, that's correct, 4 ounces. You'll need a 4-ounce jar to hold that preparation, and that'll last you a season or 2. So Again, have fun making some things for your apothecary with that recipe. Now, fir oil is also used to attract money. A half a cup of unscented liquid soap, some patchouli, peppermint, basil, fir, and cinnamon. Wash daily to attract money and before using money drawing rituals. Just put it in your soap, keep it in a little bottle, and scrub up. Unguent, isn't that what my foreign guy was searching for outside the... I don't know. All right. How to use the fresh fir needles. Leaves and barks. Leaf and bark. Let's try it again. Leaves and bark. You can make a decoction with them. 3 grams of leaves to 240 milliliters of water. Boil it up and let it get nice and rich and dark. Strain it off. Children can take 10 to 20 milliliters. Adults 30 to 60 twice daily after a meal. The leaves are diuretic. They contain vitamin A and C. They're good for fevers, prevention of cough and cold. Bark is astringent, antimicrobial. You can make a poultice out of the bark and throw some of that in the tub for a bath for muscle aches and pains. It also contributes to supporting a cough and joint pain. Bark may be best for topical application, however, because of some of the acids in it. Rheumatic joint pain poultice. So grind up your bark, put some hot water on it, soak it and wrap it in a linen and apply it. You can put the poultice on your elbow and then wrap yourself up with linen to hold it in place. You can apply a chest poultice or a stomach poultice to relieve congestion and pain. It works really well. You do have to have old linens that you're willing to stain up. Don't throw them out. Cut some old sheets up and use those for wrapping when you do poultices, and just rinse them and wash them and fold them and save them for next time. The bud extract dosage is about 5 milligrams for adults twice daily after a meal, and the resin dosage is typically 50 to 250 milligrams twice daily after a meal, according to your condition and your practitioner. Let's see. There are some contraindications for using the oil. They always tell everybody not to ingest their essential oils. I would rather see you ingest the needles or the tea than eating essential oils, because you can't always gauge the purity of your oils, where they come from, and of course things that happen in the distilling process might make them not very safe for ingesting. Some of the great big stills are made out of most of them are made from copper, but some of them are welded together with little bits of lead, and while your skin will handle that as a filter, your stomach will not, and lead poisoning, of course, is not a good thing.
Specifically acute lead poisoning.
Yes, specifically acute lead poisoning. Siberian fir oil is poisonous to aquatic life with lasting effects. Do not drop this in your outside pond or in your fish tanks. It will kill your fish, and it sticks around to kill the next batch of fish you put in there. If you get it in your pond or whatever, you're gonna have to start over. Just keep it away from your fishies. And your plant life. So if you have plants growing in there as well, it'll kill your plants too. It can cause eye damage. Don't get it in your eyes. Don't take it during pregnancy. Don't use the oil topically during pregnancy. You can do inhalation therapy during pregnancy, but not topically. In some cases, if you are allergic to the fir tree, it can worsen asthma and whooping cough. In certain types of wounds, they don't recommend that you use this on open wounds or in acute skin disease. That is for very specific types. If you have a skin issue that you think you want to apply it to, message me. Obtuse lead poisoning acceptable? No, neither lead poisoning, I think. Do not use with cardiac insufficiency. If you have heart issues, if you have circulatory issues, avoid this oil because it does elevate your respiratory and your blood pressure slightly. And do not use this also with if you have severe hypertonia. If you have severe hypertonia, muscle cramping, muscle tightening, you need to see a doctor before you just go applying this particular essential oil to it. But it does have a low risk of skin irritation.
Where's Love for All Humans at? Located. What state?
I believe New Mexico.
Okay. All right. Yeah, there's he's mentioned creosote. There's a ton of creosote over there.
Yes.
Okay. Now we're good on creosote here.
Yeah, we could do some research and do a program on that. It would be a fun program, I think.
Well, we might do some field work on that.
Yeah. That would be a fun day. All right. So in magical use, Siberian fir relates to the Aries, Jupiter, Mars, Saturn, and Uranus. It is a triple element oil, air, fire, and earth, and the chakra is the solar plexus. It strengthens the lung, the large intestine, and the small intestine meridians. It has God and Goddess associated. Goddess, Artemis, Athena, Ceredwen, Diana, Prig, Hecate, Isis, and Persephone. And Adonis, Bacchus, Dionysus, Osiris, and Pan. Celebrations associated with Siberian fir are Beltane and Yule, and stones associated with Siberian fir are tiger's eye, aventurine, and jade. Use Siberian fir in spell work that includes beginnings, healing, energy, and growth. Use in purification before a ritual and to be prepared to receive higher wisdom. Use in a grounding after ritual as well. Use in spell work that will restore your memories. Protection from hexes, amplify divination and spiritual work. Connects with the elementals and the forest spirits. So if you're really looking to connect with the energies in nature, this is a wonderful oil for that. It is a connection through the veil when death is the vehicle and comforts those left behind. So if you are caring for those who are in the process of transitioning to the next dimension, this is a wonderful oil for soothing their transition and comforting you as they go. I really recommend this oil. You can even add it with frankincense for this purpose. Fir oil is used in prosperity and money spells, for establishing stability and security, for creating longevity, balance, change, hope, happiness, peace, and finding your life's purpose. It is also for transformation. Since we're going into the winter season or the shadow season, fir is exceptionally useful in making oils for this particular season. A 1/2 ounce carrier oil of your choice with, this is an 8 oil blend, so match your parts equally, with fir, frankincense, myrrh, spikenard, sweet orange, clove, Bulgarian rose, and vetiver. This is for your winter solstice, and wear this during the celebration and the feast of your winter solstice. This is a fabulous, deep, smoky, sweet, very grounding and very settling, warm blend of oils. In the shadow season, we go inward and we hermit and we develop our spiritual gifts and we develop our talents and we develop our practice privately and quietly during this time of year. We call on our ancestors and we call on those who have gone before us and ask for them to teach us and show us the things we need to learn for the coming year. And this oil, it really smells wonderful. This oil is a great way to carry into the Yule and carry into the winter solstice as we dig in and do our work. Excuse me. As you take your time during the week and during the day to sit down and focus on your shadow and what you need to learn and heal and grow there. This is kind of here is a blend for you to use to wear or diffuse, or just take a bath in, however you want to use this for doing your shadow work. A half ounce of your carrier oil, a quarter part each, because we have 4 oils here, of fir, ylang ylang, Peru balsam, and clary sage. You can use a bay leaf or you can use bay oil. And this is for diffusion and purification prior to introspective meditations for the purpose of connecting with your shadow. And here we have winter's breath. You know, we get dug into this time of year and the light disappears and it's dark and our mood comes down. Embrace this time. This year I'm going to really try and embrace this. This is hard for me. This time of year I struggle a lot because there's not as much sunlight and the air is cold, and I'm trying this year to really dig in and embrace it. And
That's why I brought you to Arizona. It's not too cold.
It's not too cold. Thank God it's not Wisconsin. But it's still hard for me. So I'm going to be using winter's breath here to liven me up as the sun starts going down. A half an ounce of carrier oil, fir, wintergreen, spearmint, orange, and galbanum. This will be a bright, cool, sweet, little camphorous, and kind of minty, along with the fir and the orange. And this will be wonderful evening oil because it's also very warming. Wintergreen has a warming property to it, so it'll be warming in the evening and but bright, and help keep the mood up as the sun goes down way too early. So this invites Father Winter to clear out anyone or anything as well who threatens to interrupt the time you are taking to hermit and develop your skills and practice. And for me, that is the bugger of seasonal affective issues and some depression for me that comes in this time of year. So winter's breath is going to be one of my favorites this year. And that brings us back to the beginning. I should let you smell this.
Yeah.
This smells like a Christmas tree.
It does. It does. I like that.
Yeah. Here, put that on top of your frankincense paper and tell me what you think.
Frankincense and fir.
Frankincense and fir. You know, it's interesting. The higher a plant grows. This Siberian fir has let me back up here. Lavender grows in all kinds of places on this planet. But there are some places where lavender grows where it's in high altitude variety. And it strikes you when you inhale it in this part and above. Other lavenders hit you right here. Other lavenders, they hit you in different places in your body when you inhale them. And Siberian fir is one of the highest altitude trees, and it comes in the same place. It does differ from a few other pine oils. There is less pinene in this tree, so it smells a little less medicinal. It smells a little less like alcohol, and it smells more like a plant. It smells more like a tree. It doesn't smell like some of the pine trees have a very chemical odor to them. So there you go. Well, that pretty much covers my November and December oils. They're on their way out to you. I really appreciate your letting me get well enough to get them packaged and labeled and shipped out to you. It's been a long month and a half, and I really appreciate that. And I have a lot of fun when you guys come and show up. Do you have any other questions that you want to pass along here before we close this up? I don't mind the summers, J. Adam, here. Just when it's like 120. That part's a little bit rough. But the rest of it, I don't mind the summer. I like the heat. I don't like to be cold. It's tough. You have a lavender plant that sort of smells like garlic for some reason. At least it was labeled as a lavender. Send me a picture of it, and we'll figure out which lavender you have. There are almost 30 varieties of lavender. And one of these days, we'll put together a class. There are 17 variety of citrus and almost 30 variety of lavender, and we'll put together groups and have a discussion about how the different ones smell and why lavender spike does this and why lavender Vera does this and why the high altitude lavender does this, and we'll talk all about that. Because there are a variety, and they use them all. Some are better for perfuming because they are not very medicinal, but they have a better, less camphor-y smell, a more floral aroma. We'll talk about all of that. All kinds of things. We could talk about essential oils forever. So that's just about it. Seems like, what are you using for valley fever? Do you use an oil blend? Currently, I am using nothing.
Well, there's the apple cider you should be drinking every day.
Yeah, I'm doing apple cider and
like a shot in the morning, a shot in the evening.
Yeah, that's rough. I don't like it. Makes me sweat. It hurts my stomach. But yes, apple cider. I have a blend of dry herbs that I'm using in my pot, cover my head, and I do an inhalation therapy, and that, when I can't get the coughing to stop, that stops it almost dead in its tracks immediately.
The humidor, not the humidor,
And we're doing the the steam. What is that thing called? The humidifier.
The humidifier.
We're using the humidifiers in here too, and the humidifier really has helped cut the coughing down.
But valley fever is a long-term.
Valley fever is a long recovery.
It's not an acute illness. It's one that takes months, if not years, sometimes to get over without modern pharmaceutical. So, and because of the corona hoax getting in to any of that, we're actually contemplating running down to Mexico and grabbing something, which would be prescribed for a yeast infection here. I mean, we can go and, tell a story and get the same drug
for
that, but you can't get into a specialist to get the drug It's absolutely ridiculous, guys. And again, not to get off track here, but this coronavirus is being used as an excuse to keep people out of doctors' offices and getting care for chronic and acute illnesses. It is part of a depopulation program. The amount of people who have died because they couldn't get into surgeries, couldn't get tested, cancers did not get identified early enough, that kind of stuff. Those numbers are off the chart, along with the suicides and preventable illnesses and deaths, like long-term chronic stuff, like, And then again, 90% of valley fever is self-correcting, even without any meds. Your immune system will kick it eventually. It is a lung fungus, basically, is what it is.
Yeah.
So, anyway.
That's what you get for playing in the haboobs.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's something really thrilling about all that wind and lightning and rain and
Right.
giant dust cloud that rolls in over you. It's fabulous.
I know.
Oh, so I guess next time I'll wear a dust mask before I go. Oh, dear Paula, let's have a chat on Telegram about that. There's a couple of oils that will at least help open up his breathing. Fir would be a good one. Eucalyptus would be another one. What else did we put? And you know what, Paula, I'll bring you a no, they don't move at all. I'll bring you over a bag of the herbal steam for him to do an inhalation with.
Yeah.
We can certainly do that. It'll really relieve that for him. Oh dear Julian, that sounds really rough. Email me and let's talk about what you can do at home in the meantime. Gosh. Yeah, that would be good. Alicia Ray at thesicilianwitch.com. Let's talk about that. See what we can't do to support you that way too. All right, guys, I'm going to wrap this up, and I made a list while I was laying in bed of topics to cover and things. If you have topics you want to cover outside of essential oils, metaphysical topics, send me a note on Telegram or email me, and we'll cover those. We'll get those things covered too. I'm going to teach a pendulum class. I'm going to start a regular meditation. I'm trying to put a regular track together of music that I can use without any copyright issues, using my bowls and bells and things to so that we can have some background music for guided meditation once a week, things like that. I think that we're going to start doing some uplifting conversations and things that are a little more calming and centering. So that, because it's crazy out there in the world, and maybe if I have the conversation, you get to participate in it with me. Maybe we'll be feeling, we'll be able to find some grounding and centering and all this, so that we can have the energy and the stamina to get through everything that's going on in the world around us. I care about you guys, and I want to be support any way that I can from here. So thank you, and thanks for being here to support me too. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, honey, for being here with me.
You're welcome, lover.
All right. See you next time, guys. Bye.